The morning sun beat down mercilessly on the Gobi Desert as dust clouds swirled around the excavation site. The team had been digging for months, following strange energy readings that their instruments couldn't quite explain. No one expected to find anything more than some old pottery or perhaps ancient trade route artifacts. But fate had other plans. Lieutenant Ram Kumar wiped the sweat from his forehead as he studied the readings on his tablet for the 100th time. The energy signature was getting stronger with each layer they removed. "Sir," one of the junior archaeologists called out, his voice trembling with excitement, "you need to see this." The ground team had uncovered something that gleamed despite being buried for thousands of years. As they carefully brushed away more sand, the object's metallic surface reflected the harsh desert sun, forcing several workers to shield their eyes. It wasn't just some ancient artifact, it was massive, stretching farther than their initial dig site. Within hours, military helicopters descended on the location. The discovery was too significant to keep quiet. International news channels began broadcasting blurry satellite images of what appeared to be an enormous excavation operation in the desert. Speculation ran wild. Was it a buried city? An ancient temple? No one could have guessed the truth. As more of the structure was revealed, it became clear this was unlike anything ever discovered on Earth. The smooth, silvery blue metal showed no signs of corrosion despite its age. When the research team managed to date a small sample, they had to run the tests multiple times because no one believed the results. The structure was over 100,000 years old, yet its technology appeared more advanced than anything humans had ever created. Lieutenant Kumar found himself working alongside Professor Hiro Tanaka, one of the world's leading experts in quantum mechanics. Together, they studied the strange symbols etched into the hull of what they now believed to be some sort of spacecraft. "These patterns," Tanaka explained, pointing to a series of intricate designs, "they're not just decorative. They appear to be some kind of mathematical language." The discovery couldn't have come at a more crucial time. Just 3 days earlier, deep space monitoring stations worldwide had detected multiple objects entering our solar system. These objects were moving in formations too precise to be natural, and they were heading straight for Earth. As the excavation continued, they uncovered what appeared to be an entrance. The team worked around the clock, carefully clearing away millennia of accumulated sand and rock. The atmosphere was electric with anticipation. Every person at the site could feel they were on the brink of something that would change human history forever. When they finally managed to open the ancient door, the interior was pristine, as if it had been sealed yesterday. The air that rushed out was cool and clean. Inside, softly glowing panels lined the corridors, somehow still powered after all this time. The technology they'd found defied everything we thought we knew about human history and our place in the universe. But the most shocking discovery came when they reached what appeared to be the bridge. As soon as the first researcher stepped inside, the entire ship hummed to life. Holographic displays flickered into existence, showing star charts and what appeared to be battle formations. This wasn't just an ancient relic, it was a battleship, apparently left here by our ancestors, waiting for the moment it would be needed again. And as the strange objects from deep space drew closer, it seemed that moment had finally arrived. The world's leading scientists gathered in the ancient ship's control room, their faces illuminated by the soft blue glow of holographic displays. Dr. Arun Patel hadn't slept in 3 days, but he couldn't bring himself to leave. Every minute spent studying this vessel revealed something that challenged everything he thought he knew about physics. "Look at this," he called out to his colleague Dr. Lin Wei. "The ship's core, it's not using any element we've ever seen before." The central chamber housed a crystalline structure that pulsed with an inner light, like a heartbeat. When they tried to analyze its composition, their instruments simply couldn't make sense of the readings. Military personnel bustled through the corridors, setting up temporary command centers and research stations. The ship was so vast that they'd only explored about 20% of it so far. Every new room they discovered held more mysteries, more advanced technology that seemed impossible for its age. A young engineer named Raj Kumar was the first to notice something strange about the ship's internal atmosphere. "The air in here," he said, checking his instruments again, "it's not just clean, it's being actively purified. Something in this ship is still working, still maintaining life support after all this time." The breakthrough came during the early morning hours, when most of the team had finally given in to exhaustion. Dr. Wei was running her hand along one of the control panels, muttering to herself about the strange symbols, when her palm brushed against a particular sequence of marks. The entire bridge lit up like a Christmas tree. Holographic screens sprang to life all around them, and a voice filled the chamber, not in any ancient language, but in perfect modern English. The ship's artificial intelligence had been analyzing their speech patterns since they entered, learning their language in silence. "Greetings, descendants," the voice said, its tone surprisingly warm and human-like. "I am the guardian interface of the Terran vessel designated Earth's Shield. I have waited 103,742 years for your return." The scientists and military personnel stood in stunned silence. Lieutenant Rohit Sharma was the first to find his voice. Who built you?" he asked. "Your ancestors," the AA replied simply. "Those who came before, who reached for the stars and found both wonders and dangers there. I was created to protect Earth, and now I have awakened because that protection is once again needed." The ship began sharing its knowledge, teaching them about systems and technologies that seemed like magic. The AI explained how the ship's core harnessed energy from what it called the space between spaces, allowing it to power weapons that could devastate an entire fleet and defensive shields that could withstand the force of a small sun. But learning to control these systems proved challenging. When Dr. Patel tried to activate the weapons array for testing, he accidentally triggered the ship's defensive systems, causing a brief panic until the AI calmly talked him through the shutdown procedure. As news of the alien fleet's approach continued to come in, the pressure to understand the ship's systems intensified. The vessel's AI showed them recordings of ancient battles, demonstrations of its capabilities that left even the most skeptical observers speechless. This wasn't just a warship, it was humanity's most advanced creation, preserved through time for this very moment. The most fascinating discovery came when they found the neural interface chamber. Here, the AI explained, a chosen commander could link directly with the ship's systems, controlling its vast power with thought alone. The question now was, who among them would be compatible with such advanced technology? The ship had been waiting for over 100,000 years, and now it was ready to defend Earth once again. As the team worked tirelessly to understand its systems, they couldn't help but wonder, what had their ancestors faced that made them build such a powerful weapon? And were they truly ready to face whatever was coming their way? Nobody expected what happened next in the ship's neural interface chamber. Lieutenant Arya Patel had just entered to help set up some monitoring equipment when every screen in the room suddenly lit up. The ship's AI spoke with an urgency they hadn't heard before. Match found. Genetic sequence compatible. The whole room fell silent. Dr. Mehta, who had been studying the neural interface for days, dropped his tablet in surprise. "This is impossible," he whispered. "We haven't even started the compatibility tests yet." But the ancient ship had been scanning everyone who stepped aboard since its awakening, silently searching for the right DNA pattern. According to the AI, the neural interface wasn't just about fancy technology, it required a specific genetic code, one that had been incredibly rare even in ancient times. "Step forward," the AI instructed Arya. She looked around nervously at her colleagues, but years of military training had taught her to face uncertainty with courage. As she approached the interface chair, soft lights began pulsing along the floor, guiding her path. "Lieutenant Patel shows an exact match with the genetic markers of our ancient commanders," the AI explained to the stunned audience. "The probability of this match occurring randomly is less than 1 in 10 billion. The room buzzed with excitement and concern. General Jao, who had flown in from the International Defense Command, stepped forward. "Are you absolutely sure about this?" he asked both the AI and Arya. The fate of Earth might well rest on this decision. Arya took a deep breath. "If I'm compatible, then I have to try," she said simply. "We're running out of time." The alien fleet was now past Jupiter's orbit, and Earth needed its ancient defender ready. As she sat in the neural interface chair, metallic tendrils gently wrapped around her arms, and a soft helmet lowered onto her head. Everyone in the room held their breath. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Arya gasped as her mind connected with the ship's vast network of systems. She saw everything. The ship's history played out in her mind like a vivid dream. She witnessed ancient battles among the stars, saw Earth as it was 100,000 years ago, when her ancestors commanded mighty fleets. She felt the ship's power flow through her consciousness and understood why the neural interface required such specific genetic markers. The human brain had to be precisely tuned to handle this level of information. "The connection is stable," the AI announced. "Neural sync at 97%. This exceeds all historical averages." Arya opened her eyes, but she wasn't just seeing the room anymore. She could feel every part of the massive ship, from its powerful engines to its advanced weapon systems. Through the ship's sensors, she could even detect the alien fleet's movement, now passing the asteroid belt. She struggled to find the right words. "It's like the ship is part of me now. Or maybe I'm part of it. I can see everything." The scientists crowded around their monitoring equipment, amazed by the readings they were getting. But Dr. Mehta noticed something concerning. "Lieutenant, your brain activity is incredibly high. Are you feeling any discomfort?" Arena shook her head. "No, it feels natural, like remembering something I'd forgotten." Through her connection with the ship, she was accessing not just its systems, but the accumulated knowledge of ancient commanders. Combat strategies, tactical analyses, and something else. A warning about why this ship had been hidden on Earth in the first place. Her eyes widened as the memories became clearer. "The aliens," she said, her voice tight with concern. "They're not just invaders. According to the ship's records, they've been here before. This ship was built to fight them. And now they're back to finish what they started 100,000 years ago." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity hadn't just discovered an ancient weapon, they'd uncovered a chapter of Earth's history that had been lost to time. And now, the final battle of that ancient war was about to begin again. Time was running out. The alien fleet would reach Earth's orbit in less than 2 weeks, and Lieutenant Arya Patel and her newly formed crew had to learn how to operate a 100,000-year-old battleship. The pressure was enormous, but somehow that only made them work harder. "Focus on the targeting system," the ship's AI guided Arya as she sat in the neural interface chair. "Don't just see the target, feel it." Through the ship's advanced training programs, holographic enemy vessels appeared all around them in space. Arya's mind reached out, connected deeply with the ship's weapons. Her first attempt missed completely. The second shot went wide. But by the third try, something clicked. "It's like playing a video game," she said, "except I'm using my whole body, my whole mind." The next series of shots hit their marks perfectly, each holographic target disappearing in a flash of light. Down in engineering, Dr. Kapoor and his team were learning to manage the ship's incredible power systems. "The core doesn't just generate energy," he explained to his colleagues, wiping sweat from his forehead. "It pulls power from somewhere else. Another dimension, maybe. We're only beginning to understand it." The ship had selected its own crew, just as it had chosen Arya. Each person showed unique genetic markers that matched different ship systems. Lieutenant Rani Singh discovered she had an instant connection with the navigation controls. "It's strange," she said during one training session. "Sometimes I dream about flying the ship like I've done it before in another life." But it wasn't all smooth sailing. During one practice run, the shield systems suddenly failed, and warning alerts filled the bridge. Officer Chen worked frantically at his station, his hands flying over the controls. "The power distribution is off," he shouted. "We need to balance it or we'll overload." Arya closed her eyes, letting her mind sink deeper into the neural interface. She could feel the power flowing through the ship like blood through veins. With careful mental adjustments, she redirected the energy flow, stabilizing the shields just as the AI had taught her. "Excellent response time," the AI commented. "Your neural sync is now at 99%. You're learning faster than any commander in my database." The crew worked around the clock, taking short breaks only when exhaustion forced them to rest. They learned about quantum weapons that could bend space itself, defensive systems that could absorb the energy of a small star, and engines that could cross vast distances in the blink of an eye. During one late-night training session, Dr. Kapoor made an incredible discovery. "The ship doesn't just have weapons," he announced excitedly. "It can create localized time distortions. We could literally slow down time around enemy vessels. But using such advanced technology came with risks. During a test of the time distortion system, Officer Chen nearly got caught in a temporal bubble. He would have been stuck moving in slow motion for hours if Arya hadn't quickly shut down the system. As the days passed, the crew grew more confident. They learned to work together seamlessly, each person's role vital to the ship's operation. The AI continued to share more of the ship's capabilities, each new revelation more incredible than the last. "You're not just learning to operate a ship," the AI told them during one briefing. "You're learning to use the most advanced weapon ever created by human hands. Your ancestors built this vessel not just to fight, but to protect everything they loved. And now that duty passes to you." Arya stood on the bridge, looking out at the stars through the ship's advanced viewing system. Somewhere out there, the alien fleet was getting closer. She could feel the weight of responsibility on her shoulders, but she wasn't afraid anymore. They were ready, or as ready as they could be. "One more day of training," she told her crew, determination in her voice. "Then we show these aliens why they should have never come back to Earth." The day everyone had been dreading finally arrived. The alien fleet positioned itself in a perfect formation between Earth and Mars, their massive ships blocking out the stars behind them. Lieutenant Arya sat in the neural interface chair, her heart pounding as she watched the enemy vessels through the ship's advanced sensors. Detecting over 300 ships, Officer Chen reported, his voice steady despite the tension. "Their energy readings are off the charts. They're even more advanced than our historical records suggested." The ship's AI had been analyzing the alien fleet since they entered the solar system. "Their technology has evolved over the past 100,000 years," it explained. "But so have our systems. We still have advantages they don't know about." A tense silence filled the bridge when the first alien transmission reached Earth. The message appeared on every screen, every phone, every device capable of receiving a signal. The aliens spoke in perfect Earth languages, their words translated into every major dialect simultaneously. "Humans of Earth," the message began, "your planet belongs to us. We seeded this world with life millions of years ago. Now we have returned to reclaim it. Surrender now, and some of you may survive as our servants. Resist, and none will survive." Dr. Kapoor, monitoring the power systems, shook his head in disgust. "They're lying," he said firmly. "The ship's records show they didn't create us. They tried to destroy us before, and our ancestors fought them off." Around the world, people gathered in streets and homes, their eyes turned toward the sky. Some prayed, some cried, but most stood in determined silence. Humanity had faced extinction-level threats before, and they weren't about to give up without a fight. In the ship's command center, General Zhao coordinated with military leaders worldwide. "We can't let them know about our ancient vessel yet," he said. "It might be our only real advantage." The aliens' deadline for surrender was approaching fast. Lieutenant Rani studied their formation through the navigation systems. "Look at how they're positioned," she pointed out. "They're not just trying to intimidate us, they're setting up for a massive attack." The first sign of their true intentions came when smaller alien ships began entering Earth's atmosphere. These weren't attack vessels, they were scanning ships, mapping Earth's defenses. Modern military satellites tried to track them, but could barely detect their presence. Through her neural link, Arya could sense something the others couldn't yet see. "They're afraid," she said suddenly, causing everyone on the bridge to turn toward her. "Not of our current weapons, but they're terrified of something. They're searching for something specific. They're looking for this ship," the AI confirmed. "They remember their defeat. They know what we're capable of. That's why they're scanning so thoroughly before attacking." A second alien transmission came through, their tone more threatening. "Your silence is taken as refusal. You have 1 Earth hour to reconsider before we begin cleansing your world." Officer Chen's console suddenly lit up with urgent readings. They're powering up their weapons. Energy levels are rising across their entire fleet. Arya closed her eyes, connecting deeper with the ship's systems. Through the advanced sensors, she could feel the buildup of power in the alien vessels like a gathering storm. But she could also feel something else. A subtle weakness in their formation, a flaw in their overconfidence. "They think they're invincible," she said, opening her eyes with newfound determination. "They think we're primitive and helpless. And that's exactly why we're going to win. General Zhao looked at each crew member in turn, then nodded to Arya. Lieutenant, power up all systems, but keep us cloaked for now. Let them think they have us cornered. As the ancient ship's systems hummed to life, its crew prepared for the most important battle in human history. The aliens had no idea that their long-lost nightmare was about to return, and this time, Earth wasn't going to just fight back, it was going to win. In the ancient ship's war room, holographic displays showed the massive alien fleet in stunning detail. Military leaders from around the world had gathered through secure channels to discuss their options, but no one could agree on the best approach. A direct assault would be suicide, General Zhao pointed out, gesturing at the enemy formation. Even with our ancient ship, they outnumber us 300 to 1. Lieutenant Arya stood quietly, studying the holographic display. Through her neural link with the ship, she could see patterns that others might miss. The aliens had arranged their fleet in what looked like perfect defensive layers, but something about it bothered her. "Look here," she said, zooming in on a section of the enemy formation. "Their ships aren't just positioned for defense. They're connected somehow, sharing power, sharing shields. It's their strength, but it could also be their weakness." The ship's AI finished her thought. Just like in the ancient war, they still believe in overwhelming force over tactical advantage. Dr. Kapoor rushed into the room, his eyes bright with excitement. "You need to see this. We've finished analyzing their energy signatures. Their neural network, the way their ships communicate, it has a similar pattern to our own ship's systems." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Through the neural interface, Arya could feel the ship's excitement, if that was the right word for it. The AI quickly displayed new information, showing battle records from the ancient war. "Of course," Officer Chen whispered, looking at the data. "They were fighting us back then, studying our technology. They copied our neural network design, but they never fully understood it. They just made it bigger, thinking that would make it better." Lieutenant Rani pointed to a spot in the enemy formation. "If we could get close enough, right about here, we might be able to disrupt their entire network. But their outer defenses are too strong. We'd never get through." "Unless we don't try to get through them at all," Arya said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at her. "The ship has been teaching me about its quantum phasing technology. We don't need to break through their defenses if we can simply step around them." The ship's AI projected a simulation of what Arya was suggesting. The ancient vessel would use its most advanced technology to briefly exist in a different phase of spacetime, allowing it to pass through the enemy fleet's outer layers like a ghost. "It's incredibly risky," Dr. Kapoor warned. "We've never attempted quantum phasing at this scale. The power requirements alone are enormous. And if we get the timing wrong by even a fraction of a second," Officer Chen added, "we'd materialize inside one of their ships. That would be bad." But General Zhao was nodding slowly. "They won't expect it. Their entire strategy depends on their layered defenses. If we can bypass those..." Through the neural link, Arya could feel the ship's certainty. This was why it had waited so long, why it had chosen this specific crew. They weren't just fighting with technology, they were fighting with innovation, with human creativity. "Once we're inside their formation," she explained, "we can use their own neural network against them." The ship's quantum cascade weapon was specifically designed to disrupt neural patterns. One shot, amplified through their own network, could paralyze their entire fleet, the AI confirmed. But the window of opportunity will be extremely small. Everything would have to be timed perfectly. The room erupted in discussion as military leaders debated the plan. It was incredibly dangerous, possibly even suicide. But looking at the alien fleet's overwhelming numbers, everyone knew they needed something more than just courage and firepower. "I can do it," Arya said quietly, but with absolute conviction. The neural link has shown her things about the ship's capabilities that even the AI hadn't fully understood. Sometimes the best solutions came from human intuition combined with ancient technology. General Zhao looked around the room, meeting the eyes of each person present. Nobody offered a better plan. Finally, he nodded. "Very well, Lieutenant. Begin preparations. The fate of Earth depends on this working perfectly." As the others filed out to their stations, Arya remained, staring at the holographic display of the alien fleet. They thought they had come to reclaim Earth. Instead, they were about to learn why humans had become the dominant species on this planet. We never, ever give up. The ancient ship hummed with power as the crew made their final preparations. Through the neural interface, Lieutenant Arya could feel every system, every circuit warming up for what might be the most important moment in human history. Power levels at maximum, Dr. Kapoor reported from engineering, his voice steady despite the tension. The quantum phase generators are ready. We'll only get one shot at this. On the bridge, Officer Chen watched the alien fleet through the advanced sensor displays. Their weapons are still charging. They're preparing to attack Earth's major cities. We have maybe 10 minutes before they strike. Lieutenant Rani's hands moved smoothly over the navigation controls. Course is plotted. The gap between their defense layers is narrow, but if our timing is perfect, we can thread the needle. The ship's AI spoke calmly. Quantum phase synchronization in progress. Remember, once we begin, we cannot stop until we reach the target point. Any disruption in the phase field could be catastrophic. Through the ship's external cameras, Earth looked beautiful and fragile. Billions of people were down there, most of them unaware that their fate would be decided in the next few minutes. Arya took a deep breath, letting the neural interface settle deeper into her consciousness. All stations, report ready status, she commanded. One by one, the crew confirmed their positions. The plan was simple but incredibly dangerous. They would phase through the enemy's outer defenses, become solid again at exactly the right moment, and unleash their quantum cascade weapon into the heart of the alien fleet's neural network. Phase generators at full power, Dr. Kapoor announced. Beginning countdown. The ship started to vibrate slightly as the quantum field built up around it. Through the neural link, Arya could feel reality itself beginning to shift. It was like being in two places at once, seeing through two sets of eyes. 5 seconds to phase shift, the AI warned. 4, 3, 2, 1. The world outside the ship seemed to blur, like looking through rippling water. They were now existing partially outside normal spacetime. The alien fleet's powerful energy weapons and shields might as well have been made of paper. Moving forward, Lieutenant Rani reported, passing through their first defense layer, now. The sensation was incredible. Massive alien warships passed through them like ghosts. Through the neural interface, Arya could feel the strange tickle of enemy shields and hull metal passing through their partially phased ship. 30 seconds to target point, Officer Chen called out. Warning lights suddenly flashed across his console. They've detected something. They're scanning for us. The alien fleet began to shift, their ships moving to close any possible gaps. But they were too late. The ancient ship was already inside their formation, approaching the perfect strike point. 10 seconds to phase release, the AI announced. Quantum cascade weapon charging. Arya could feel the weapon building power through the neural link. It was like holding lightning in her mind, waiting for the perfect moment to let it loose. 5 seconds, 4, 3. The ship began to solidify, returning to normal space. They had 1 fraction of a second to fire before the aliens could react. 2, 1, now. Arya released the quantum cascade with a thought. The weapon discharged, sending waves of disrupting energy straight into the heart of the alien fleet's neural network. Their copy technology worked against them, spreading the cascade effect from ship to ship like a tidal wave. The effect was immediate and stunning. Alien vessels began to drift, their lights flickering and dying. The neural network that connected their fleet, that they had thought made them invincible, had become their greatest weakness. Through the ship's sensors, they could see chaos spreading through the enemy fleet. Ships that had been preparing to attack Earth now floated helplessly in space, their crews unable to control their vessels as the cascade disrupted their neural systems. It worked, Dr. Kapoor whispered in amazement. Their entire fleet. They're completely paralyzed. The bridge crew watched in awe as hundreds of alien ships, each powerful enough to destroy a city, drifted harmlessly in space. Earth's ancient guardian had just turned the tide of an impossible battle. But even as they began to celebrate, Arya felt something through the neural interface, a warning. This victory, amazing as it was just the beginning. The real war was still to come. The paralyzed alien fleet hung in space like a field of dead stars. On Earth's ancient battleship, the crew watched in amazement as their impossible victory became reality. The quantum cascade had worked better than anyone had dared to hope. All enemy ships show minimal power readings. Officer Chen reported, his fingers dancing across his console. Their neural networks are completely scrambled. They can barely keep life support running. Through the neural interface, Lieutenant Arya could sense the confusion and fear radiating from the alien vessels. Their perfect formation had broken apart as ships drifted helplessly in space. But something else caught her attention, a signal, building in strength. "They're trying to send a message," she announced. The ship's AI quickly decoded it, broadcasting it across the bridge. The alien commander's voice was filled with a mixture of rage and respect. "You have kept the ancient weapon," the message said. "We thought all were destroyed. Know this, what you face today is merely our scout fleet. The main invasion force follows. You have won nothing except a brief delay." Dr. Kapoor's hands flew over his instruments. "They're activating some kind of emergency system. Power levels are spiking in all vessels." The alien ships began to move, their engines glowing with desperate energy. One by one, they started to vanish into hyperspace, retreating to whatever distant world they came from. But their retreat wasn't neat or organized. Ships bumped into each other, some barely avoiding collisions. "Should we stop them?" Lieutenant Roney asked from the navigation station. "We could probably disable their engines before they escape." The ship's AI displayed tactical analysis on the main screen. "Negative. Let them run. Their neural systems are so damaged that many won't make it back to their home territory. Those that do will spread fear. Fear of Earth's defender." As the last alien ships disappeared into the darkness of space, celebrations erupted across Earth. People poured into streets, hugging strangers and crying with joy. Humanity had faced its greatest threat and survived. But in the ancient ship's command center, the mood was more serious. General Zhao studied the AI's projections with a worried frown. "How long?" he asked simply. "How long until their main fleet arrives?" Based on their retreat vectors and known technology, the AI calculated approximately 6 months. And this force will be much larger. Possibly thousands of ships. Arya sat in the neural interface chair, letting the ship's knowledge flow through her mind. "We found their weakness," she said, "but they won't make the same mistake twice. They'll modify their neural networks, find ways to protect against our quantum cascade." Dr. Kapoor nodded in agreement. "We need to prepare. This ship is incredible, but even it can't fight thousands of enemies alone. We need more." Through her neural link, Arya suddenly felt something new, coordinates appearing in her mind. The ship was sharing information it had kept hidden until now. Her eyes widened as she understood what she was singing. "We're not alone," she said, causing everyone to turn toward her. "This ship, it wasn't the only one our ancestors built. There are others, hidden all around Earth, sleeping, waiting, just like this one was." The AI confirmed her words by displaying a global map. Dots of light appeared at various locations, deep under the ocean, buried in mountains, hidden beneath polar ice. Each dot represented another ancient vessel, each possibly as powerful as their own. "Finding and awakening these ships must be our priority," General Zhao declared. 6 months to prepare for the fight of our lives. We'll need every advantage we can get." As the crew began planning their next moves, Arya remained connected to the ship's systems. Through the neural interface, she could feel Earth's determination. Humanity had won its first battle against an overwhelming enemy. Now they had to prepare for war. The alien fleet had expected to find a primitive world, easy to conquer. Instead, they had awakened humanity's ancient guardians. And next time, Earth would be ready for them. Time was precious, and Earth wasn't going to waste a single minute. Just days after the alien fleet's retreat, search teams spread across the globe, following the ancient ship's coordinates to find its sleeping sisters. Lieutenant Arya stood on the bridge of Earth's first awakened guardian, watching live feeds from expeditions worldwide. 3 kilometers beneath the Pacific Ocean, she reported through her neural link. "The underwater team has found something big." The ocean search team's cameras showed a massive shape emerging from the darkness. Like their own ship, this one had waited for over 100,000 years, protected by advanced technology that had kept it perfectly preserved. Energy signature matches, Dr. Kapoor confirmed, studying the readings. It's definitely one of ours. The design looks slightly different though, maybe built for underwater combat. In the Himalayan mountains, another team had discovered a hidden entrance in a cliff face. Deep in the Amazon rainforest, researchers uncovered a ship that had disguised itself as part of the landscape. Each discovery brought new hope and new challenges. We've found 7 ships so far, General Zhao announced during a global briefing. But waking them up isn't as simple as flipping a switch. Each one needs its own crew, its own compatible pilots. The ship's AI had been busy scanning global DNA databases, looking for people with the right genetic markers. We've identified potential crew members in every country, it reported. The ancient commanders were wise. They spread the compatible bloodlines across the world. No single nation can control all the ships. Training centers were quickly set up around the world. The first awakened ship shared its knowledge with the new crews, teaching them about technologies that seemed impossible. Every day brought new discoveries, new understanding of their ancestors' incredible achievements. The ships aren't all the same, Lieutenant Ronnie noticed while studying the technical data. Each one has different strengths, different specialized weapons that were built to work together to support each other in battle. Through her neural interface, Arya could feel her ship's excitement as each new vessel awakened. These weren't just weapons, they were brothers and sisters, built together, fought together, and now awakening together after their long sleep. But they also discovered something troubling. Dr. Kapoor called an emergency meeting after analyzing data from all the recovered ships. The aliens have been here more than once, he explained grimly. Every few thousand years, they send scout fleets testing Earth's defenses. Each time, they're driven back, but they keep coming, getting stronger, more determined. Why? General Zhao asked the question everyone was thinking. What makes Earth so important to them? The combined knowledge of all 7 awakened ships provided an answer that left everyone stunned. Earth isn't just our home, the AIs explained in unison. It's special. Something in its core, in its very structure, makes it unique in this part of the galaxy. The aliens don't just want to conquer us, they want to harvest our planet itself. As the days turned into weeks and months, Earth transformed. The ancient ships shared their technology carefully, helping humanity advance while making sure they were ready for such power. New weapons were built, new defenses prepared. The ship's crews trained together, learning to fight as one unit. 3 months left, Arya said one evening, standing at a window and looking at the stars. Do you think we're ready? The ship's AI responded with unexpected warmth. Humans have always been ready. That's why your ancestors built us. Not to fight for you, but to fight with you. Together, we are stronger than any invasion fleet. Around the world, the other ships and their crews prepared for the coming battle. This time, Earth wouldn't just defend itself, it would show the aliens why they should never have awakened humanity's ancient guardians. The next war would decide everything. But Earth was ready. Its guardians were awake, its people were united, and this time, they would fight not just for survival, but for their right to exist among the stars.